I know. It is September 14th at 7 o'clock, and the Park Board of Chaska will come to order. Mary, will you do a roll call for us, please?
David Downs,
Here.
Jason Branch,
Here.
Elizabeth Weinbein,
Here.
Georgianne Keyport,
Here.
Zach Sarasik, Danielle Hai,
Here.
Carly Sitch,
Here.
Thomas Massey,
Present.
Jalen Destin.
Thank you. Number 3 on the agenda is to adopt the agenda. Comments to the agenda? If not, can I have a motion to adopt?
I call to adopt.
Georgianne, motion, second.
Second.
Elizabeth, second. Visitor presentation? Seeing none, we'll close item 4. Approval of previous meeting minutes. The first one is the Park Board of August 10th. Is there any comments or changes or corrections that anybody saw? Shall we have a motion to accept the Park Board meetings of August 10th?
Motion to accept the minutes?
Tom, motion, second.
I second.
Daniela, seconds. Item 6, receive council and planning meeting minutes. Council meeting minutes of July 19th. Any comments? Council minutes August 2nd. Planning meeting of July 14th, which, if you notice, was 6 minutes long. Any comments to any of those? We will receive those meeting minutes. Action items. Item 7A, recommendation to the City Council to approve the Southwest Transit Facility Use Agreement. Do you want to speak to that a little bit, Marshall?
Yep, all right. Good evening, Park Board Chair and Commissioners. Before I get into that, I just thought on my drive down here, it was such a beautiful day. It resonated with me. I gotta, thank the Park Board members for your service, to the community and just taking time out on a nice day. So thank you. But yeah, so the item before you is an action item. I had brought this to the Park Board as a new business item last month and just talked about the opportunity at hand, in which really it's kind of a unique use of some underutilized space over at the Southwest Transit parking ramp in Chaska. And so having discussions with the executive director over there, Len Simich, about the use of the upper level of that parking ramp. The reality is due to COVID and a lot more people working from home, there's just a lot less ridership on Southwest Transit currently. And so the opportunity came before us to look at a facility use agreement. And so that agreement was in your packet for you all to review. It was, pretty straightforward. Really what they're looking at is, in exchange for the city's use of that space, they're asking the city to indemnify, defend, and hold them harmless against any claims or liability. And then they're also asking the city to list them as an additional insured on our certificate of insurance policy, which I've already arranged to have that done. So the thought is, if you recommend this to City Council, it would go before them next week at their City Council meeting to approve. And then from there, we would look at starting out with pickleball as an option up on the upper level. And so Zach Johnson, our athletic supervisor in our department, has been just kind of planning in preparation for the approval. So if that approval does happen, the hope is we'd be able to try to get some temporary pickleball courts in yet this fall and just try it out, see what the response is, and then, you know, I think look into next spring, summer, and fall to see what other options and activities we could do up there in coordination with Len.
Yeah, I reviewed the contract, and it was really straightforward and well-written. It was nicely done on the thing, and I thought it was interesting that, like you had suggested, we start off with just one item, but we can add items with 30-day notice and get their approval, and away we go on those things. So it'll be nice to build off the success of the pickleball, if that's in fact the case.
Any other questions?
Is there gonna be city supervision for all the open hours that there are? Or how is that gonna work? Is it just gonna be set up for people to come, or?
Yep, just set up, so it'll almost be like a park, so people can just show up. And we actually did this for quite a while down at Lions Park before we actually had dedicated pickleball courts.
Okay.
We have a job box there where the nets are available for people to basically set up and take down and play, but it'll require some, you know, follow through in the beginning and just some monitoring, but.
Yeah, it looks pretty straightforward. If I could put out an idea for another event that I think you can use that for coming up, I think like a trunk or treat. It'd be a perfect place, because it's a parking lot, to do something like that. I think it'd be a good idea.
Yeah, great idea.
We did drive by it the other day after one of our only big rains of the season, and there was quite a bit of water pooling, just a heads up.
Okay. Yeah.
I think on the west side of that upper lot did get some, and I don't know if it was draining off or if that's something that happens with every large rain, but it was right after, so hopefully that's not a common occurrence.
Yeah.
A question about your comment about the boxes and nets and stuff. I was under the impression that those would be set up by somebody from Parks and Rec, and they would stay set up.
Yeah, more than likely we'll set them up and sandbag them so they can stay up. I get a little nervous about what the wind factor might be up there, so we gotta probably keep an eye on that. So yeah, it'll be a little bit of a trial and error in the beginning.
Okay, good.
Because lines will be painted for pickleball, correct, already up there?
Yeah, that's what we're working on.
Okay.
You know, where, I think that we'd try to start out with a few courts and figuring out where to lay those out. To your point, there is some low spots in there. That's probably where that water is pooling, so we'd want to stay away from there.
Any other comments, suggestions? Are we ready for a motion? We need a motion to just like it says here on the agenda, to recommend to City Council the approval of the Southwest Transit Facility Use Agreement. Can I have a motion to that effect?
I motion to recommend the use agreement.
Tom made the motion, and a second?
Second.
Jason seconds. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved. That'll go to City Council's next meeting. Marshall?
Yep.
Perfect. Discussion items. Item 8A, update on naming rights for sponsorship proposals.
All right. So this has been kind of an ongoing update now, actually. So it was probably, I think, back in the spring when we brought this idea of looking at naming rights and sponsorship revenue as a potential idea for our facilities, as a work session with both the park board and the city council. From there, we developed an RFP, which was sent out back on July 12th. We had a due date of July 30th. If you recall, we sent that proposal directly to 6 different consultants and then also had it available on our website. We ended up receiving 3 proposals. One of the consultants, however, withdrew early on. And so from there, we were considering the proposals from Front Burner Sports and Entertainment, which they're a local consulting firm, and then also the Superlative Group. And they're a consulting firm with headquarters located out of Cleveland, Ohio, and then they got satellite facilities in Las Vegas and in London. It was at our last park board meeting where I recommended that a next step for us in this process would be to conduct interviews, and then also to appoint a couple of park board members to be a part of that process. As a result, Dave Downs and Zach Sussereg have opted to participate in that, so I thank them for their help with that. So on August 23rd, the 3 of us, along with Mary, met and we reviewed the proposals from those 2 consultants and put together our game plan of questions for the interviews. And then with Mary's help in coordinating that, we conducted the interviews last week, Tuesday, September 7th in the afternoon. We met with Chris Potenza, the president of Front Burner Sports and Entertainment first, and then our second interview, we met with Kyle Cantor, who's the chief operating officer for the Superlative Group, second. I'd say overall, both interviews went very well. We learned a lot. We had a lot of great discussion. We ended up reconvening last week, Thursday, to debrief and evaluate how the interviews went, and determined that our next step now is going to be to take a couple of weeks to look further into references, along with asking each of the consultants some follow-up questions. Just because there was so much information and content, this is generally new territory for us, so we want to make sure we're taking our time and doing it right. So that's going to be what we're going to do next, and then the plan will be to bring a recommendation back to the park board at our next meeting in October. So, I don't know if you have anything to add, Dave, but hopefully
I just could echo you. I thought the interviews were very interesting, and there was some good discussion, and there was some differences and a lot of similarities, and it's nice to have 2 opportunities in front of us like this, and it is going to take a little work to determine which one to really recommend. That we're not there yet. So, any other questions or anything that we can?
Is it within the realm of possibility that you wouldn't go with either one of them?
I doubt that. I think they're both capable. It's not a question that, we're going to pick the best of the worst. It's going to be a question that we've got 2 capable firms, and which one will do the best to improve our community. Anything else? We will close that item on the agenda then. The update on the pedestrian and bicycle master plan. Is that Marshall or is that Liz?
We'll start out with Liz.
All right. So the Bicycle Steering Committee met last August 17th, and within the month prior, Antonio and his team have been working on putting forth the recommendations that will ultimately be put forth to the city. And as part of those recommendations, we've been evaluating, along with Antonio and his team, what the city already has in place in terms of infrastructure. And to facilitate that conversation, we focused on the 6 E's that you keep hearing about: the engineering, education, encouragement, enforcement, evaluation, and equity. And Antonio has said that his report will be outlined in terms of priority along with price tag, as all of us can appreciate, you know, if it's a recommendation, it might be to have some sort of infrastructure, which usually is quite expensive. But what I appreciate about Antonio and his experience is that he focuses around kind of the programming, and says that oftentimes you can achieve almost as much with programming as you can with infrastructure. And his idea or his explanation was an example of a crossing guard situation, whether it's at an intersection going to a park or at a school. You can quickly organize crossing guards versus taking money and resources and times to reconfigure an intersection. That could be costly. So hopefully we'll focus a lot around programming for the city, which would keep down costs, but it's going to be probably a marrying between what the city already has in place and versus what people have said on the survey that they feel that the city is lacking. So kind of a marrying between those. And then just a reminder, we are going to have the 3 listening sessions coming up, and the first one was going to be with the mountain biking club to kind of reach out to that younger generation, and then the Carver County Community Development Agency as well. And then the third group, we were going to focus on the terrace soccer community, but I think that soccer has ended for the season, so we're going to plan to reach out to a third group, but that's to be determined. The only other thing that I want to mention is just we have these lags in these meetings, and so at the last steering committee we talked about the comments that came out of River City Days and having that booth there. And Antonio said that you might think that all communities would say, oh, like, we're great and we've got all these great things and we're investing in so much money and biking and walking for the community. And he said that's not true at every community. The turnout at River City's booth was amazing, and people were very interested in looking at the map. He said that drew a lot of attention, and people wanted to, you know, look and, you know, find their routes, and just we have a high level of engaged community. And I think I just mentioned that just to be proud of what we're doing here, and that we're spending the resources and to make it better for everybody. And that was just nice to hear, because he's been around to different countries implementing these plans, different states, cities, and he said it's not true of all cities. We've got a really great city, so that made me extremely proud to be part of Chaska.
Cool.
And I think Marshall might have a few more updates.
Yeah, I would just piggyback with Liz's last comment. You know, I mean, the amount of comments we've received through our online tools, and then just at River City Days. There's other communities 2 to 3 times the size of Chaska that probably have gotten about half of the comments we've received, you know, and in their master plan sort of phasing. So I think it's a testament to the Chaska residents and just how involved people want to be and make it a better community. So I would just echo what Liz said. It's kind of feels proud to be a part of the project. Yeah, just kind of behind the scenes, you know, in addition to everything Liz just spoke about, you know, Antonio's starting to put together the initial kind of overall draft, you know, putting the organization and the chapters together. I think the thought will be that that'll be complete here within the next couple of weeks. So that will be available on the project website, which, as a reminder there, it's walkbikechaska.org. We will then, really try to promote that and steer the community towards reviewing that initial draft. And then, in addition to those listening sessions, we'll also be planning another public open house event. And the intention there is to invite anybody that's interested to come down and essentially get a review of that initial draft and provide any other comments as well. And then that'll also be where internally we'll get a lot of city staff reviewing the draft and providing feedback back to Antonio. So it's shaping up. The other interesting thing to note related is I had a meeting with Pat Stieg with the Carver County Human Health Services a couple of weeks ago, because in his department, they manage all of the SHIP grant funding, which is what funded this master plan. Their cycle for that is November to November. So he's looking to propose things for those funds. And so him and I met in just kind of in anticipation of some of the recommendations that are going to come out of the master plan, some general thoughts he's going to put together to help fund would be really around the whole area of evaluation and looking at helping to fund digital trail counters so we can begin to understand usage on trails. And then, with different improvements, does that usage go up? So we can start to, quantify some of the investments we're putting into this. Some funding possibly could get earmarked for mapping, because we've been hearing a lot throughout this, just the idea of more maps. And then also, they have the ability to provide funds that can secure grant writers, so agencies that are really good at writing grants and help us leverage funding for some of the other recommendations that come into the plan. So it's a great partnership we have with Carver County and just their commitment towards helping us improve walkability and bikeability here in Chaska.
I got a question, Marshall. The draft is going to have all the items, and they're not going to be in priority yet, is that correct? That establishing the list of, we'll do this next year and this sometime later after that, that's later in the process, or is that something that would be ready to be able to talk to people in the sessions?
I think they're gonna have some of that put together already. As much as they can, but knowing that there's still, a couple more months for them to put those recommendations together. I don't anticipate it'll be complete, but it'll be a start to generate some conversation.
Okay, good.
Yep.
I'm sorry, go ahead. No, I was just gonna ask if anybody else wanted to.
I do.
Question. Good timing.
Marshall, can you remind me, what was the top ranking? Was it a diamond rating as far as the bikeability? Were there select ratings that you can achieve?
On the bike friendly.
So so you're thinking of the bicycle friendly community
That's right.
designation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so,
would
it goes, I think it's bronze, silver, gold, platinum.
okay. And they had said that platinum was hard to achieve right off the bat.
Oh, yeah.
We should have a pretty decent idea once we get, a lot of this information back and everything put together of, what it's gonna take to get us to these certain levels, is that right?
Yep, so once we get to the point where we feel like we're ready to go through the application, 'cause it's a whole separate application
Yeah.
process
Mhm.
For that. And what happens is the League of American Bicyclists, a national organization, would review our application, and let's say, for example, they designate us as a bronze level. What they then do there is they then provide basically recommendations on what we would need to do going forward to then achieve the next level.
Got it.
Yep.
All right.
Is that the purpose of doing the master plan, to sort of achieve these levels?
Yes, I think one of the things that'll help situate us to become a designated bicycle-friendly community is to have a master plan in place. So that's why we're implementing or conducting the plan, and it gives us kind of that game plan over time to implement things. Yep.
Yeah, the real need for the plan is, what do we want to be when we grow up, and really improve the past and all that stuff. And the rating is kind of a follow-on. It's not driven by the rating, it's driven by what do we want to do in the community, and it should be, they should align, but,
Yeah.
I was at the park, the River City Days at that booth, and there was a couple of people, as I was looking at the map, people asked, can we get a copy of the map? So what are you gonna do with that? I'm gonna put it on my wall. How do we get a copy of the map? It was a great map.
Yeah.
Can you get a copy of it?
Marshall?
Yeah, I think, I'm pretty sure Antonio just
It's a
pulled that from
huge
GIS, and yeah. So I mean, that's where, that'll be our next step is, figuring out how we can make maps more available for the community. And that's where even the SHIP funding can come into play to help support some of the costs for printing and things like that.
Any other discussions or questions or comments? We will close out this item. Department happenings.
All right, so this coming Thursday is going to be another community food distribution event. That'll be taking place, as they always have been, over at the former Gedney Pickle Factory. So opportunities to volunteer there. Our Chaska Cares team will be there as well, like we always have been, collecting some of the items and then delivering them to local senior homes for those that don't have the ability to make it to the Gedney site. This Saturday is also going to be our first official Courthouse Lake Park Run. So you may have seen that in some of our promotions. This was actually an item I brought to the park board, it's probably almost a couple of years ago now. We heard from Nate Damrow, who was from Egan, which I had worked with prior to coming with the city of Chaska in implementing Park Run over at the city of Egan. And so he's kind of an ambassador for Park Run in the area and works with other cities to try to get them up and running. And so there was an expressed interest in looking at doing it here. It takes a little while. One thing of note is it's completely volunteer run. So it really takes somebody to step up and be a kind of the ultimate race director, and then a pool of volunteers willing to help out. And so, so big kudos to Missy Goff. She's our fitness supervisor. She's really kind of taken this project and working with Nate along the way. Obviously, COVID and all that kind of threw a wrench in a lot of the plans, but over time they've been able to identify a race director. So Trevor, and I've never met him yet. I plan to here shortly, so I apologize if I'm misspelling or misrepresenting his last name, but it's Trevor Luyt, L-U-Y-T. So really appreciate Trevor for taking the lead on this. But if you don't know, Park Run is a free weekly timed 5K. And it's geared towards all abilities. It's really meant for walkers, joggers, runners. Bring your kids in the stroller, bring your dog on the leash. And these happen across the world. So you register for free, you print out a barcode, and you can literally attend these park run events. You know, if you're traveling somewhere, you can check to see if one's in the area, and you're always welcome to participate in that event. And so ours will be occurring at the it's the trailhead right off the corner of East 2nd Street and Beach Street, right over there by the county government building. And it's an out and back run. Generally, it's preferable to have a loop, but didn't really have a really good 5K loop where we're not having to cross a lot of roads, because in that situation, you need that many more volunteers to create a safe route. But this is a nice route. It is out and back, but it's a beautiful route along the river. And so, yeah, it's just, I think, a great thing for our community. It encourages people to get out and participate in a 5K however they want. It's very community-oriented as well. Afterwards, everybody's encouraged to have a coffee and a snack over at Red Bench Bakery. So if you're not doing anything Saturday, head on over there. It's purposely starts at 9 o'clock too. You know, the real avid runners are usually up like dark 30. You know, this is meant for people to kind of ease into their morning a little bit and bring the family along to participate, which is kind of cool.
Will you be there, Marshall?
Yep,
Okay.
I'll be there on Saturday. So.
Is registration, is there like a link on the Parks and Rec?
Yeah, good question. So there, you can go to just parkrun.us, and that'll get you to the US site, and then you can kind of do a search based on location. Otherwise, if you just type in parkrun.us/Courthouse Lake, that'll take you to the specific web page for our site. And what's really cool is Park Run does a really good job at keeping statistics on their website. So that page will be dedicated for our site, and you'll see at the bottom, like, how many Saturday runs there's been over time, how many participants, but then you can also individually see your different statistics too. That's pretty cool.
Very cool.
This Saturday is also our Christmas in May that's in September. So I think you might have received an email prior to this meeting from Kevin Wright inviting you to participate if you're available. But another great thing, it's a local nonprofit, you know, that helps out a few households that you know, may not have the means to just do some upgrades at their house, and so volunteers come together and do, you know, some general things like painting and yard work, you know, maybe, and they do work with getting the help from contractors too that donate time and resources to build a new deck or something like that. So if you're interested, you can simply just show up at Guardian Angels Gymnasium at 7 o'clock this Saturday morning. There you can learn about the few projects that they're going to be working on, and you can pick which one seems to be the best fit for you, and they'll steer you in the right direction with who's going to kind of lead that particular project. So just another great thing that Chaska does. I think that's the spirit of a small town, and what we're trying to strive for with Chaska Cares as well. Plans are pretty well set for our Fire and Ice Community Festival in Bonspiel. that's going to be occurring on the weekend of October 15th and 16th. This community event we typically hold in July, the third week in July. It requires a lot of planning. So earlier in the year, with the uncertainty of COVID, we felt it was best to establish a date as far out as we could that we thought we could be pretty confident it's going to be a go. And so we're crossing our fingers for some good weather on that weekend. But it's going to be an exciting weekend. We're also going to be celebrating the 150th anniversary of the fire department. So there's going to be some fun elements within the weekend there. So the Bonspiel will actually kick off on Thursday night, October 14th. We've got 68 teams participating in the Bonspiel. And then on Friday night, things kick off at 6 o'clock. We've got food vendors, beverage vendors, and then at 7 o'clock, the headline band is Four on the Floor. They're a local band out of Minneapolis, so they'll be playing from 7 to 9:30 with a break in the middle at 8:30 for fireworks. And then Saturday, activities will begin at 12 o'clock noon. So we got a variety of different activities, family-friendly activities occurring in the park. There's going to be an antique fire truck show up at Veterans Park. There's going to be fire department water fights out on Creek Road in the afternoon. We'll have a beanbag tournament taking place in the afternoon. There will be a bagpipers parade and kind of a ceremony to honor the firefighters. And then the headlining band that night, along with fireworks, will be the Johnny Holm Band. So looking forward to a fun weekend there.
Can you repeat the dates?
October 15th and 16th. Yep. And then just some updates on capital improvement projects with our park maintenance department over in Public Works. So the project over at Clover Ridge, the outdoor hockey rink, they've taken down the boards over there and plan to install the new ones sometime in late October, early November. They're currently spending some time over at the new Chaska Loop, the new golf course, the barrier-free golf course that's been worked on over the summer, putting in all the trail substrate and paving the cart paths. So that's taking place this week and next. And then they'll start decommissioning the playground over at the Cortina Woods neighborhood playground, most likely within a couple of weeks. And then getting the site prepared for the contractor to install the new playground and other elements that were identified, probably beginning sometime in the middle of October is the timeline there. And then lastly, I just wanted to say kudos to all the staff and people involved with hosting the state amateur baseball tournament that took place leading up to Labor Day. A lot of work got put into Athletic Park, and I think we put on a great event for a lot of people to come and enjoy. A great pastime in Minnesota with some good town ball. So good job to all. And that's all I had.
Cool. Anything else for Marshall as far as ongoing stuff? We'll close out that and we'll go on to our last item on the agenda, the Park Board Roundtable. Do you want to start, Carly?
Now I suddenly, my mind went blank, but I think that fall is a great opportunity to get outdoors. I was just thinking about now is also a good time for you to spot buckthorn along the trails. So it's one of the, it holds on to its leaves a lot longer. And so if you notice buckthorn, maybe take note of it, because maybe you'll be able to get rid of it someday.
Is there an easy resource? We've got a lot, we border woods. Is there an easy resource on how to get rid of it?
There's a lot of different resources. One thing that you can do is mark it on EdMaps, so it's EDD maps, and then it is like a public website, so it keeps track of where they find it. And then that way, if you can kind of, that way later on, if it's like, especially if it's on like public land or something like that, we can start making and creating projects for that, or they can create projects. Yeah.
Thank you.
But do you have any resources, Georgianne?
There's actually, there was a conversation that we had, last summer maybe, this past summer, about developing some sort of buckthorn program. And actually Marshall sent me some resources, but the University of Minnesota website as well
Yeah.
is a good source, River Greening,
Yeah,
as you know. Though they have, they'll tell you how to identify it, how to eliminate it, and there's some, it's not as easy as you think, it's not so bad, but it takes basically constant vigilance for about 3 or 4 years to get rid of.
Do I need to tell Brian Jung that I intend to adopt a woods? Or am I allowed to adopt a woods?
You know, I think that's a great comment, because I think something that I know Carly and I'd like to do is to help develop some sort of program. And one thing we had talked about is really just starting to educate the community. Some people don't even know what it is, why it's a problem. Some people like buckthorn for a variety of different reasons. But it would be, I think, you know, something, maybe a subgroup of this group, anyone who's interested in, to help sort of develop some sort of program that has some sustainability associated with it. That, because I think it's a problem here. And I think Brian knows this, and I think he's even started to map some areas where are big problems.
Yeah, yeah, I think
So
it'd be
he's
a
a great
great
resource.
kind of community initiative,
Yes.
you know, to generate some volunteerism, and to your point, you know, maybe identify, you know, where are the areas of priority and start there, and I think showcase sort of the before and after, and what a little sweat equity can do to manage this, you know, and then build it out from there. So, yeah.
Well, count me interested if we
Okay.
decide to pursue that.
Put your name down. That's it.
I believe I saw that the Oak Ridge Conference Center land sold and was approved for Costco and multifamily development. I'm pretty sure that that was approved. And I just want to call out that I believe Costco has already had to reach out to MnDOT about improvements for 41. So if we're gonna try and add a trail or anything straight along 41, now would be the time to coordinate that or make a stink about it. But I definitely look forward to hopefully discussing different land preservation as part of that going forward. So fingers crossed that falls to us sooner rather than later. But I do think they did have to reach out to MnDOT for improvement proposals already.
Yep.
That's all I have.
My husband had an opportunity to ride our bike over through the Del Webb new neighborhood that they're building. And they've started the roads, the infrastructure's there, the roads are there. And they've started their landscaping, it looks very nice. And we had an opportunity they have 3 or 4 models up, so we went through the models, that was kind of fun. But the thing that surprised me was, a long time ago when we talked about the plans and where they were gonna have some parks within that area, I just recall that they're coming from 41, there was an in and out. I mean, basically you came in, but really there's only, from 41 going south is the only way to get in. And then you have to go up and around the church through the stoplight up there, up next, adjacent to the church, to really get off of 41 and go downtown. Was that a part of the original plan, do you know? I wonder if something changed.
Can you remind me where we're talking? I was
This is the
taking a
Del
note.
Webb.
Oh, okay, the Del
Right
Webb
off of
area.
41.
Okay, yep,
They've started to build, they've got the roads in there now.
I
yep.
know that
But
area
they-
was in contention with kind of the surrounding neighborhoods that they'd have to drive through.
Yeah,
Which they
The
will now.
right, so you're wondering
Yeah.
if the right out was the intention?
Yeah, there's no out, there's only in, off of 41.
Yeah, right in and a right out.
No, there's only in, it
Oh,
looks
it's
like
just
it
a
goes.
right in.
Yeah.
Okay,
Because then
yep.
on 41, there's a
Right.
center medium, so you can't go the
Yeah,
other
and then traffic will be routed from the development
It's like,
through, yeah, up, you have to go
up through the
then
existing
north.
neighborhood
Yeah,
and then out to that
so
stop.
really odd,
Yep,
very odd.
but yeah, that
And I
was
don't-
all.
Yeah.
yeah, if I recall correctly, we looked at a park up there, but then we decided that they're going to have the clubhouse there, and that was pretty much adequate, and then we had that big park adjacent to them
Right, in the other neighborhood.
in the other neighborhood.
Right.
So I don't think there's gonna be any individual park in that development at all.
No, yeah, and they've actually moved that clubhouse way back. So they've reconfigured I think what it was when we originally looked at it.
Mhm.
So, but anyway, it looks beautiful. Looks
Yeah.
really nice. I am gonna be at one of those Christmas in May houses, and they're basically tearing down a big deck that's dilapidated, but there's lots of landscaping that's gonna be done. We're gonna take down at least 2 trees. So if anyone's interested in learning how to use chainsaws or pruning things, we're gonna be pruning a whole bunch of lilac bushes, and there's technique to that. Mulching, gonna do all sorts of, really renovating the yard too, so I'm looking forward to that. It'll be a lot of fun. So come to mind, the one I'm at. I don't know which one it is though. Actually, we'll find out when we go down to Guardian Angel, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I was at the State Fair this year, went into the environmental building, and there was a group there, an organization called Green Step Cities. And it's an organization, non-governmental, and they assist cities in building sustainability and quality of life goals, whatever that might be for the city. And they have lots of resources, grants, and connections to other things. And I'd never heard of it before. Many of the things that they talked about were more city-related, like infrastructure, solar energy, that sort of thing. But a lot of it was more park and rec-esque. And I wondered if they've ever approached us, or, because I've noticed that Carver and Shakopee are Green Step cities. So they're benefiting from whatever opportunities this group has, and I've just never
called
heard of it.
Green Step?
Green Step cities, yeah.
That's really funny because I also went in and talked to them
Oh.
about it as well.
Okay.
I just
What did
remembered.
you think?
I thought it would be an interesting opportunity for Chaska.
Yeah, it could be things like, earlier we had talked about community gardens, so there's grants for that, or perhaps something related to the biking, separate from whatever it is that program puts on. This could be, a supplement sort of activity or grants or whatever. But it sounded interesting, and so I just was wondering if we were aware of that, or if
I think I've heard of it. I'm pretty sure that they work a lot with like your facilities too, converting to more energy efficient,
Yes.
mechanical systems and, LED lights. And so there's different, I guess I would almost say it's maybe the, kind of like the bicycle friendly designation. It's sort of like the environmental friendly designation, and there's different levels you can achieve.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think that's something that we could certainly look into and see if that's, an initiative the city would, I think that'd be probably more than just the Park and Rec Department. It would, need to be supported by our city administrator
Yeah, I think it would be.
and city council, but yeah. Very cool.
Okay.
Who would do that, Marshall?
What's that?
Who would contact them or give an initial blush? Is that your department? Do you have somebody chat with them, or?
Yeah, I think I would look into it and then bring it forward to our city administrator to see what type of direction we'd want to go. You know, I think there's other cities that actually have separate natural resource and environmental commissions, you know, that focus on this stuff. You know, so it can get, you know, some of that stuff would be beyond my scope. I'll just come out and say that. So I don't know what department, you know, that would fall in, if it would be Parks and Recreation or.
It probably depends on what the goal is, what is it you
Yeah,
want to
like,
achieve and where it falls.
What within there can we focus on, you
Yeah.
know, maybe as just a starting point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so she sent me an email, maybe I'll pass it on to you.
Yeah.
The contact that I made there.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Done?
That's it.
Jason?
Nothing for me this week, David, thank you.
Liv?
I saw something, I think it was on the Park and Rec website, that there's an after-school teen programming opportunity at the Chaska Community Center Lodge. And they're just looking to have people meet on Monday, September 20th, or Thursday, September 23rd, just to generate ideas on possible teen programming after school. And I thought that was a great idea, because that's probably an age group that's lacking. So just wanted to make people aware of that it's Monday again or Thursday, September 20th or 23rd, and meeting from 6 to 7 at the Chaska Community Center Lodge, just to gather ideas for possible programming, and anyone's welcome.
Yeah, so just a little more to add to that. So I'm working with Aaron Link, who's our recreation program manager on that. And, you know, one of my observations since I've been here is with our proximity to the middle schools, you know, how do we be more accommodating to that age group after school? And, you know, a lot of park and rec agencies have, you know, designated teen centers, which we don't have. But as we looked at it, you know, my thought is well, why wouldn't the community center, just the whole facility, sort of act as a teen center is kind of the concept after school, but we would look at utilizing the lodge as maybe an initial landing spot, because that programming is typically in the morning up until 3 o'clock for our active older adults, and then oftentimes the lodge is just kind of hanging out vacant in the afternoons and evenings. And so we just kind of want to get some ideas from parents on what that could look like. You know, if we were to develop some sort of after-school program where kids could hang out at the lodge, and then, you know, week to week, we may have different activities for them to do in other areas of the building. I also think it's a way for us to possibly start looking at how do we involve middle schoolers with some of the great volunteer opportunities we may have in our community, you know, and, you know, giving them that ability to sort of contribute and feel a part of something. So this is kind of our initial step to gather some feedback from parents.
Tom?
Well, I guess firstly I want to apologize for volunteering myself last time we met and then having to change that abruptly, but I told Marshall the reason why I wasn't able to attend the pre-meeting last time is because I had an interview and I got the position, so I had to, thank you. I had to prepare my team for my departure as well as ramp up for my new one, but as part of that, it's taking me to North Carolina. So we're in the process of selling and buying and all of that. So next month will actually be my last meeting here, so I'll say my goodbyes at that time.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations, we'll miss you.
Yeah.
New adventure.
I really don't have anything this week to chat about, so we'll go over. Marshall, you got anything else?
Nothing else to add.
Mary? We'll close out the roundtable discussion, and the last item is to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.